Recording in progress.
I welcome all members who have logged into the virtual mini-plenary session. There will now be an opportunity for silent prayer or meditation. Thank you. Honourable members, before we proceed, I would like to remind you that the virtual mini-plenary is deemed to be in the precinct of Parliament and constitutes a meeting of the National Assembly for debating purposes only. In addition to the rules of virtual sittings, the rules of the National Assembly, including the rules of debate, apply. Members enjoy the same powers and privileges that apply in sitting of the National Assembly. Members should equally note that anything said in the virtual platform is deemed to have been said to the House and may be ruled upon. All members who have logged in shall be considered to be present and are requested to mute their microphones and only unmute when recognized to speak. This is because the microphones are very sensitive and will pick up noise which might disturb the attention of other members. When recognized to speak, please unmute your microphone and where connectivity permits, connect your video. Members may make use of the icons on the bar at the bottom of their screens, which has an option that allows a member to put up his or her hand to raise points of order. The Secretariat will assist in alerting the chairperson to members requesting to speak. When using the virtual system, members are urged to refrain or desist from unnecessary points of order or interjections. Lastly, I wish to remind you that we are meeting in a mini-plenary session and therefore any decisions will be taken in a full plenary session of the Assembly. The first order of the day is the consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Electricity and Energy on Oversight visit to Koeberg Nuclear Power Plant. I now invite the Honourable Hassan, the chairperson.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker and honourable members. I have the honour of presenting today's report on behalf of Chairperson Mvana. The Portfolio Committee on Electricity and Energy conducted an oversight visit to Eskom's Koeberg Nuclear Power Plant on the 10th of October 2024. This formed part of our capacity building as a newly established Portfolio Committee. Today, we delve into a topic of critical importance to South Africa's energy security and its broader developmental aspirations. This iconic facility, located just outside of Cape Town, is most notably the only commercial nuclear power plant on the African continent. And as we face ongoing challenges in meeting our country's energy demands, Koeberg remains a cornerstone of South Africa's electricity generation, contributing approximately 5% of the national grid supply. Over the next few moments, we'll be reviewing the findings and observations from the oversight visit. Our discussions will also encompass Koeberg's technical upgrades, including the much-anticipated steam generator replacement project, the rigorous safety protocols, and the plant's environmental stewardship efforts. Furthermore, we'll reflect on the vital role of capacity building, particularly the training and retention of nuclear specialists as a safeguard for the future of nuclear energy in our country. Our focus as a committee has been twofold. One, understanding the present state of Koeberg's operations, but also exploring its long-term operations to ensure energy sustainability. During our oversight visit, we were giving an overview of the plant, taken through how the nuclear power works, but also what is being done to ensure the safe storage of nuclear waste. The committee was also taken through the safety measures put in place to ensure that no nuclear incident occurs. We were given a demonstration on the simulator of the control room regarding how nuclear operators would react to a trip of Unit 1. The committee members were also impressed with the reaction of the nuclear operators, one of whom was a woman nuclear operator. The committee was then interested in Eskom's programs to train nuclear operators, as well as getting youth interested in STEM careers, so as to provide a pipeline into the nuclear power plant. The committee was happy to hear that Eskom do have programs targeting pupils in primary schools, and this includes Eskom engineers going into schools to provide learners with assistance of mathematics and science. The committee also received an update on the long-term operation, the LTO project, and the replacement of the steam generator, which will extend the life of the plant by 20 years. This ensures its ability to generate reliable and clean energy until the mid-2040s. And the initiative aligns with the Integrated Resource Plan 2019, which prioritizes nuclear as a critical component of our energy strategy, alongside coal, gas, and renewables. Unit 1 of the Koeberg nuclear power plant was safely returned to service in November 2023. Unit 2 is currently out of service for maintenance and the steam generator replacement. Unit 2 is expected, however, to return to service in December of this year. The delayed return to service date, originally targeted for October, is due to a breakdown of the crane that moves the steam generator. With its 2 pressurized water reactors, Koeberg exemplifies innovation, resilience, and adaptability in a sector fraught with complexity. And since its inception in the 1980s, the plant has been pivotal in diversifying our energy mix and mitigating our reliance on coal-fired power stations, which dominate the landscape yet carry significant environmental costs. Emanating from this visit, the committee has made the following recommendations to the minister and the department. Number 1, address all important deviations in aging management activities and the preparation for the safe long-term operation raised by the IAEA's, that's the International Atomic Energy Association, safety aspects of that long-term operation mission. 2, prioritize and ensure the energy availability factor of the nuclear power plant is improved. 3, ensure that there is a sufficient pipeline of nuclear specialists and operators. 4, develop reasonably practicable safety upgrades to enhance the safety of the plant. 5, strengthen and improve cooperation between the various national, provincial, and local spheres of government relating to the safety preparedness of the plant. 6, ensure the sufficient arrangements and emergency preparedness for effective and adequate response to the case of a nuclear accident. 7, ensure units that are tripping at Koeberg nuclear power plant are reported for transparency purposes. And lastly, to provide a comprehensive financial review of the long-term operation project, including both direct and indirect costs. Lastly, Deputy Speaker, as we navigate the complexities of energy transformation in a water-scarce nation, Koeberg offers invaluable lessons, and it is a beacon of sustainability, demonstrating how nuclear power can complement renewable energy initiatives while maintaining a steady and reliable supply of electricity. However, challenges remain, from addressing those safety concerns to enhancing energy availability and engaging stakeholders in transparent dialogue about the plant's operations. Let this session ignite a thoughtful and constructive conversation about the opportunities and responsibilities tied to nuclear energy. Together, let us chart a path that ensures Koeberg continues to serve as a vital pillar of our energy infrastructure for decades to come. With these words, Deputy Speaker, I would like to table the Portfolio Committee on Electricity and Energy's report on the Koeberg Oversight visit conducted on the 10th of October, 2024. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Hassan. The next speaker on the list is the Honourable Bapti.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker, and can you hear me okay?
Yes, you are audible, Honourable Bapti.
And greetings to honourable members on this platform. Honourable Chair, our oversight visit to Eskom's Koeberg nuclear power station was both informative and very valuable. The timing of the visit for the new Portfolio Committee on Electricity and Energy was appropriate, given that we face an energy future that will be impacted in a very substantial way by a just energy transition. Getting close up to the workings of a nuclear energy plant was entirely necessary. We know from a multitude of studies that energy generation is the largest contributor to carbon emissions worldwide. Now, with coal burning generation making up the bulk of our baseload in South Africa, Our impact internationally may be small, but our per capita output of greenhouse gases is inordinately high. And what this establishes is the importance of a clear focus on clean energy options for this committee. The Koeberg nuclear plant commenced operation in 1984 and 1985 for its reactors number 1 and number 2 respectively. And for the past 40 years, they've delivered a reliable, clean source of energy to our national grid, contributing about 5% of the national demand. Now, this track record contributed to the decision and implementation of what the industry calls long-term operation. Reactor 1 has been upgraded and Reactor 2 is due for completion this year, as we already heard. The upgrades extend the life of the facility for a further 20 years to 2044 and 2045, adding to the energy mix that will keep the lights on and avoid those very harmful impacts of load shedding. Nuclear energy, as we know, is clean, but due to its very nature, it demands stringent adherence to multi-layered safety protocols, meticulous management, constant monitoring, and comprehensive safety plans. Now, the International Atomic Energy Agency conducted its own long-term operations safety review of the facility, and they made recommendations to ensure that the facility functions at the highest possible standards of safety. Whilst the Portfolio Committee was assured of compliance with these standards, it is nevertheless important for us to maintain an enhanced level of oversight given the overall age of the plant. There were some delays in the upgrade to Unit 1, and this provided valuable insights that impacted constructively on the upgrade to Unit 2. These delays, however, led to cost overruns which are yet to be fully disclosed. It's very important to have full financial disclosure on the long-term operation and steam generator replacement projects, and the DA therefore calls on the Minister to provide the transparency that is requested. Nuclear energy, as we know it, can be an emotive subject, and any lack of transparency could trigger a loss of trust. The plant itself resides within a nature conservation area, and it utilizes the adjacent seawater in its cooling process. The environmental impact assessments provide for ongoing extensive sampling and monitoring regimes for the marine, the air, and the land environments. Koeberg's record in preserving its ecological asset of the nature reserve is praiseworthy, but recent changes in water permitting regulations underscore the need for consistent environmental audits. More frequent, comprehensive environmental reporting will provide confidence that Koeberg is keeping up with our evolving environmental legislation. The waste produced from nuclear installations is relatively small in volume, but due to its nature, it requires very specific management and storage methods. The Vaal Pit Storage Facility, under the management of the National Radioactive Waste Institute, has the capacity to contain waste for the present and foreseeable future. It does, however, demand equal attention from the Oversight Committee. Over the past 5 years, Koeberg's energy availability factor has fallen to 67%, notwithstanding the impact of downtime due to the upgrade. Energy availability factor is a term that South Africans became very familiar with in the dark days of load shedding. Improving that factor to the target of 90% without compromising on safety standards is a goal that Koeberg must seek to achieve. Given the impact that cost of supply has on electricity tariffs, efficiency in operations will make a much-needed contribution to lowering the price of an indispensable resource. Our economy and our people cannot survive without an affordable energy supply. The pressure on governments across the planet to transform to greener and healthier economies has renewed interest in the generation of energy from nuclear sources. There is substantial growth in the sector. Many countries are pushing ahead with small nuclear reactors, and this is largely due to their clean status, their transportability, and their dispatchability. What this does, however, is pose a risk to our skills base. We have seen our scientists and engineers heading offshore in the past as opportunities arise elsewhere on the planet. Now, this phenomenon establishes a firm need for the department to sustain training, education, and development initiatives for a highly skilled workforce that will enable us to continue the operation and the maintenance of the plant and provide our human resource needs for future growth. As we progress towards a safe, reliable, affordable, and clean energy mix for the future, the most important asset in the energy sector will remain our human resources. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Bapti. Although we don't have a name of the speaker of the MK, I will, however, ask whether there is a speaker for the MK. It does not seem that we have a speaker for the MK. We proceed to the EFF. Is there a speaker for the EFF?
Good morning and thank you, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, Koeberg Units 1 and 2 started commercial operation in 1984 and 1985 respectively. Koeberg's Unit 1 received a license to continue operating until 2044 in July this year, and Eskom is planning to extend operation of Unit 2 until 2045. Unit 2's license expires in November 2025, and the National Nuclear Regulator will make a decision as to whether to extend the operation of the unit. Koeberg provides about 5% of the country's electricity, playing a vital role in reducing reliance on coal. It is the only commercial nuclear power station on the African continent. Koeberg is equipped with 2 pressurized water reactors with a combined capacity of 1,934 megawatts of electricity, making it a key component of South Africa's energy infrastructure. On the 6th of September 2024, the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, completed a review of the long-term operational safety of the Koeberg nuclear power plant. The safety aspects of the long-term operation follow-up review mission was requested by Eskom themselves. The mission reviewed Koeberg's response to recommendations and suggestions made during an IAEA mission to Koeberg, which follows from an IAEA mission to Koeberg in 2019. The IAEA Nuclear Safety Officer Bryce Lehrman stated in his report that Koeberg is addressing the IAEA's suggestions and recommendations from the 2020 review, and that the plant has made significant improvements in aging management and resolving most of the issues identified in 2022. Mr. Lehrman further stated that Koeberg is on track to complete the remaining items in a reasonable timeframe. Since coming back online, Unit 1 has been operating uninterrupted since December 2023. Unit 1, however, suffered an unexpected shutdown on Wednesday, the 11th of September 2024. Unit 2 was already on a planned outage to replace the steam generator and for welding work needed for its lifespan extension application. Unit 1's outage meant that Koeberg was completely offline, with the potential to destabilize the grid in the Western Cape. Eskom stated that the unit was shut down in order to restore redundancy of the steam pressure relief system in line with the operating technical specifications, that at no point was the safety of the plant, staff, public, or the environment at risk. Koeberg's continued operation and generation is critical, failing which the power system in the Western Cape becomes destabilized. If one of the major overhead lines feeding Cape Town were to trip, we would have a complete blackout in the Western Cape. Koeberg is vital as a nuclear energy supplier and plays a pivotal role in South Africa's energy mix. It offers a low-carbon, reliable source of electricity that can contribute significantly to the country's energy security and climate goals. The EFF supports the report, Deputy Speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Paulson. The next speaker on the list is Honourable Mhlongo. Honourable Mhlongo. does not seem that the Honorable Mshlongo is online. I will check, but we will then proceed to the next speaker. We don't have anyone from the PA. Is there a speaker from the PA? It does not seem so. Honorable Letlape.
Thank you, Speaker. Deputy Speaker. The Action SA supports the report, but more importantly, we think there are great lessons that can come from how we've handled Koeberg. We should do the same with our coal power stations, where we extend their lives, we sweat their assets, and we comply with international norms in terms of emission standards. What we cannot afford to do is to mothball our coal power stations that exist, export coal, and import loans we cannot afford. We need an energy mix, as the Minister has alluded, but the core base should be to use what we are endowed with, coal, as the core of our electricity supply. We need to ensure that we support the Minister in ensuring that the energy availability factor of our power stations are restored. We need to ask the committee and the department to look at reigniting Komati work. Any coal power station that can still add to the grid will ensure that Eskom is restored to being the #1 power company in the world as it was in 2001. But more importantly, producing the lowest cost electricity to society. Affordable energy is a key engine of reigniting the economy, increasing jobs that are available, and dealing with poverty. As Action SA, we support the report, and we need to go back to low-cost power stations and have coal supply to Eskom power stations at site, as was done before. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Letlape. The next speaker is the Honorable Thring.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. During an oversight visit, the Portfolio Committee for Electricity and Energy resolved to explore small modular reactors for energy security and diversification, emphasizing feasibility studies and stakeholder consultants. Deputy Speaker, it is tragic that many of our South African trained, skilled and expert nuclear scientists are now working abroad. It is even more tragic to hear of how careless we have been with our intellectual properties on energy technology advancement. In our recent Portfolio Committee on Electricity and Energy, I questioned on behalf of the ACDP why we have not leveraged on our world-class intellectual property energy technology. Other countries are now using our IP on prepaid meters and our pebble bed modular reactors, and are now years ahead while South Africa struggles to come out of load shedding. Someone has dropped the ball on this, and it is costing South Africa hundreds of billions of rands. The ACDP agrees that this department must address the issues of managing aging infrastructure for Koeberg's safe long-term operation, as highlighted by the International Atomic Energy Agency. Additionally, improving Koeberg's energy availability factor and ensuring a pipeline of nuclear specialists is essential. Eskom must focus on training and retaining nuclear specialists despite the higher salaries they receive abroad or are offered abroad. The ACDP further agrees with the urgent need to promote science, technology, engineering, mathematics, or STEM careers in schools, developing safety upgrades, as well as strengthening government cooperation for plant safety preparedness. Despite national power supply sensitivities, transparency in reporting unit trips at Koeberg is necessary. a comprehensive final review of the long-term operation project, including direct and indirect costs, is required. Finally, the ACDP remains concerned about nuclear waste management, and we cannot compromise on the internationally accepted standard of nuclear waste management and storage. Koeberg is the only nuclear power station in South Africa, and we are thankful that its lifespan has been extended. Without doubt, utilizing our intellectual property on the PBMRs is a no-brainer, and the installation of small modular reactors is a must for ensuring our energy security. The ACDP accepts this report. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Thring. The next speaker on the speakers list is Honourable Sali. Honourable Sali, are you on the platform? It does not seem that way. We will then proceed with the next speaker, the Honourable Nkosi. I see the hand is raised of the Honourable Shongwe. Can I please
Greetings,
hear what
Speaker.
the
How are you?
Honourable Shongwe?
Thank you,
Yes.
Speaker. I'm just kindly asking that may you ask the visual people to accept my Honorable Brian Molefe on the platform because he's struggling to be accepted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I am sure the table has heard. Please accept the Honourable Molefe. Thank you very much. I'm just making sure again that the Honourable Sali is not on the platform. We will then proceed to the last speaker in this debate, and that is the Honourable Nkosi. Honourable Nkosi from the ANC. Please unmute.
Honorable Speaker, I'm not sure if you can hear me.
Yes, you are audible.
All right. I'm hoping I'm also visual. Honorable Deputy Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. Greetings to yourself and honorable members in the mini-plenary. The ANC supports the tabling of this report. The Oversight visit to Koeberg brought a particular dynamic understanding of nuclear energy and a break from the earlier representations in which nuclear energy was purely understood as inherently dangerous. Whilst this particular dynamic understanding brought a nuclear energy benefits that is relatively cheap and environmentally friendly to the fore, it also sought to incorporate some degrees of nuclear safety. In contrast to the uninformed and grossly conceived views of environmental justice NGOs that lobby for the pushback of the nuclear energy in South Africa's energy mix, the Oversight visit to Koeberg nullified the NGOs and bounded irrationality and bias towards the renewable energy technologies. It was through this Oversight visit that we learned that on the automatic systems level, Koeberg pressured water reactors, which generate 5% of the country's generation capacity through its approximately 1,800 megawatts installed capacity, have many built-in safety devices, thereby making the escape of any radioactive waste material a very remote possibility. More crucially, reducing the risk of failures and errors is embedded on the automatic systems as much systems automatically they shut down the pressure water reactors to prevent increasing failures and errors. Whilst the automatic systems signify that the safety parameters are in place at Koeberg, they do not fully capture the Koeberg's nuclear safety culture and automatic safety structures. More specifically, Koeberg as inherent safety is also deemed derived from the following reasons. Firstly, the uranium fuel is in a form of a dense ceramic material with good fission product retention properties. Secondly, the fuel is encased in zirconium tubes. Thirdly, the fuel elements are placed inside the 25 centimeter thick stainless steel reactor pressure vessel. Fourthly, the reactor pressure vessel reacts in a 2-meter thick reinforced concrete biological shield. Finally, a massive 1-meter thick steel-lined post-stressed reinforced concrete structure is built to withstand the incredible forces, including the impact of aircraft that houses the entire nuclear steam supply system. Added to this, Koeberg is built on an asymmetric bearings to prevent the damage from major earthquakes, reflecting the impossibility of Fukushima-like incident in Japan from happening in South Africa. This impossibility is reinforced by the fact that Koeberg has a safety injection system built into it, which has a backup system on permanent standby in case the original fails. This safety injection system has multiple nuclear safety functions, compromising but not limited to ensuring that the nuclear fuel in the pressure water is cooled in the event of an accident and injecting cooling water as quickly as possible into the pressure water reactors if maybe pressure water reactors coolest pipes breaks. Perhaps the most important is that in the event of an accident, similar to the Chernobyl disaster in Ukraine, which led to an explosion and fire that demolished the reactor building and released large amounts of radiation into the atmosphere, Koeberg's radioactive waste material will be trapped in the containment building, which is tested regularly at a higher pressure, preferably at 4.5 bar, which is higher than the pressure in the average motor car tire. Koeberg produces 3 types of radioactive waste material: the low, the intermediate, and the high-level radioactive waste materials, whereas low and intermediate level radioactive waste materials are compressed into steel drums, which are sealed and transported for disposal. High-level radioactive waste materials is sealed into stainless steel flask to be buried in the range of 500 to 1,000 meter deep at waste repositories. Overall, all types of radioactive waste materials, whether low, intermediate, or high level, are transported to a nuclear waste storage site called the Valputs, located 600 kilometers north of Cape Town, which is a remote and geologically stable area where the little seismic activity has been recorded for millions of years, and where agricultural and mineral potential is minimal. Added to this, Koeberg spent fuel radiated from the pressured water reactors is contained in assembles that are stored underwater in storage ranks in the spent fuel pools. This implies that spent fuel pools guarantee safety as the water cools the fuel and serves as an effective shield to protect workers in fuel storage building from radiation. Just to update the House on plans to extend the Koeberg's lifespan by an additional 20 years, the National Nuclear Regulator has already approved the 20-year life extension for Koeberg Unit 1 on the 15th of July 2024. However, the decision to approve the 20-year life extension for Unit 2 has been deferred until the late 2025. Primarily because the assessment of the pressure water reactors for the Unit 2 safety case is still ongoing. Regardless, ESCOM has gained experience during the process of extending the lifespan for Unit 1 and hence progress is being expedited to ensure that 2025 deadline is met. In conclusion, Deputy Chair, we explore the Minister of Electricity and Energy working together with Eskom to prioritize skills retention as well as advanced development and training of staff so that Koeberg's long-term operation is managed by people with relevant skill set and knowledge capacity, considering the sensitivities peculiar.
Honourable Nkosi, please wrap up.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Nkosi. This concludes the debate. I see the hand of the Honourable Selepe. Please raise your point. Honourable Selepe.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I'm requesting the host to accept me on my other gadget because now I've done using my phone and then now calls are bothering me. Can they accept me on my other gadget, please? Thank you.
Yes, the table will accept you. Just make sure that your device name is recognizable because it does not allow any generic name. So please just make sure that the name on your device is correct, and then they will admit you. Thank you very much. Honourable members, that concludes this debate, and we now proceed to the second order, which is the consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Electricity and Energy on Nuclear Energy Summit. And the first speaker is the Honourable Hassan.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker and honourable members. I'm honoured to present this report on behalf of Chairperson Mvana. The Portfolio Committee on Electricity and Energy was invited by the Department of Electricity and Energy to attend the Nuclear Energy Summit held on Thursday, 12 September 2024 in Gauteng. The summit, under the theme, Enhancing Nuclear Technology for Sustainable Development in South Africa, represents a landmark event in our ongoing efforts to address the pressing challenges of energy security, climate change, and sustainable development in South Africa. The summit was part of the Ministers' series of stakeholder consultations and activities aimed at addressing some of these key issues. The Minister engaged this crucial gathering with the nuclear industry and nuclear community stakeholders on the role and attributes of nuclear power. This took place also in the context of climate change and low carbon transition to discuss the main challenges facing the nuclear sector and explore solutions for tapping the full potential of nuclear power in South Africa. Nuclear energy holds a unique position in South Africa's energy landscape. As a low-carbon, reliable energy source, it is indispensable in achieving our national goals of economic growth, job creation, and environmental sustainability. The IRP 2019 highlighted the need for an additional 2,500 megawatts of nuclear capacity, marking a decisive step towards ensuring energy stability while also reducing our carbon footprint. The summit also offered unparalleled opportunities for key stakeholders such as government officials, scientists, industry leaders, and community representatives to collaborate on shaping the future of nuclear energy in South Africa. The deliberations addressed the vital role of nuclear power in a just energy transition, the challenges of public perception, and the importance of transparency and public participation in the decision-making process. In his keynote address, the Minister emphasized the need for the public to understand the science behind nuclear energy and its everyday applications, noting that nuclear energy can transform society, stimulate economic growth, and lift people out of poverty. Furthermore, Minister Dr. Ramokgopa emphasized the central role of nuclear energy in South Africa's energy mix and warned that the country should not lag behind as the rest of the world continues to develop and embrace this technology. Key insights further emerged from this address, who underscored the need for science-driven approaches to nuclear energy. He called for evidence-based discussions to counter misinformation and emphasize nuclear energy's potential to drive industrialization, stimulate economic growth, and ensure energy sovereignty. Some of those key highlights of the summit are as follows. Mr. Grossi, the Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency, highlighted the status and value of nuclear energy in Africa. He stated that African and South American countries have started to realize the benefits of nuclear energy, given the need to balance socioeconomic needs with those of environmental needs, especially in the context of climate change and the need to move forward economically. The department stated that nuclear will be a part of South Africa's energy mix going forward to ensure that the country has a secure and sustainable energy solution. The South African Nuclear Energy Corporation, NECSA, the country's custodian of research and development in the field of nuclear energy, highlighted the future technology prospects of nuclear energy and their strategic importance. The entity stated that small modular reactors, such as Pebble Bed Modular Reactor, which South Africa initiated and which is now in care and maintenance, is the future of nuclear energy. And lastly, the use of nuclear non-power applications was also highlighted, which includes seawater desalination, hydrogen production, district heating, and various industrial applications. In his closing remarks, the minister reiterated that nuclear energy is part of a larger strategy to diversify the energy mix alongside renewables, natural gas, and coal. Minister also assured those present that the procurement process for the 2,500 megawatts of nuclear capacity will be handled with care and ensuring that any nuclear expansion is, number one, affordable, and number two, meets the country's long-term energy needs. Some of the recommendations made to the minister emanating from the summit include, number one, address all outstanding issues regarding the decision to withdraw the Gazette to procure 2,500 megawatts of nuclear generation capacity. Number two, revise or update the country's 2008 nuclear energy policy, as many domestic and international changes have occurred since its adoption. Number three, ensure that the funding model of the future nuclear build is advantageous to South Africa. Number four, the continuously conducting public education on nuclear energy. Education campaigns should be consistent and continuous, as its impact should be assessed. The report also highlights the critical contributions of the International Atomic Agency and the role of small modular reactors as a transformative innovation for localized and cost-effective nuclear energy deployment. Additionally, we explore South Africa's leadership in the nuclear research and industrial applications, including medical isotopes and non-destructive testing, which are key areas for economic and technological growth. As we embark on this journey, it is imperative to prioritize transparency, regulatory compliance, and public participation. By doing so, we can build a nuclear energy program that is both credible and aligned with national interests. Let this report serve as a foundation for informed decision-making and as a call to South Africa for all stakeholders to work together in securing a sustainable, low-carbon future for South Africa. With this, Deputy Speaker, I would like to table the Portfolio Committee on Electricity and Energy's report on the Nuclear Energy Summit held on the 12th of September 2024. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Hassan. The next speaker is the Honourable Milam.
Deputy Speaker, we're here today to reflect on the recent Nuclear Energy Summit held in Irene in Gauteng and its implication on our nation's energy future. This summit was hosted by the Ministry of Energy and Electricity and brought together experts, policymakers, and stakeholders to discuss. The theme of the summit was enhancing nuclear technology for sustainable development in South Africa, and it underscored the importance of nuclear energy in our energy mix. As we grapple with the challenges of climate change, energy security, and economic growth, nuclear energy obviously offers a low-carbon, reliable source of electricity that can significantly contribute to our national goals. The Democratic Alliance is not opposed to nuclear energy. We recognize its potential as a low-carbon, reliable power source that could contribute to our energy security in the long term. However, as with any major investment, we must approach this issue with utmost scrutiny and ensure that our decisions are guided by safety, economic prudence, and sound governance. The Minister of Electricity and Energy, Dr. Ramakopa, emphasized the need for a comprehensive understanding of nuclear energy and its potential benefits during the summit. He highlighted the importance of public engagement and education to demystify nuclear technology and foster informed discussions about its role in our society. In his words, we must follow the science. We echo the sentiment, but at the same time, the scientists cannot be the only people we consult. Economists, environmentalists, and regulators also have a critical role to play in the process. The science might be good, but might not meet our needs and requirements in terms of financing, environmental obligations, or safety and security. Any decision we as a country make in this regard must be guided by transparency, and public trust are vital. In the past, nuclear procurement processes in South Africa have been clouded by allegations of corruption and secrecy. This cannot happen again. One of the key topics discussed at the summit was the future of nuclear technology in South Africa. Experts debated the merits of proven technology versus innovative approaches, such as small modular reactors, and they spoke about the revival of the Pebble Bed modular reactor. These discussions underscore the need for a balanced approach that leverages both established and emerging technologies to meet our energy needs. Now, it must be acknowledged that the care and maintenance of the PBMR technology has put us a long way behind the rest of the world in terms of reactor design, and that a lot of the intellectual property and experienced personnel that worked on that project have been lost. That said, there remains an opportunity in the nuclear fuel space, but we should not seek to leap headlong into restarting the entire program. Affordability is at the crux of the matter. Demands significant upfront investment, 400 billion rand or more for the 2,500 megawatts that is being sought through the IRP 2019, according to conservative estimates. History tells us that nuclear projects are prone to cost overruns, corruption, and delays, as was seen with the Medupi and Kusile coal projects. The question is, can South Africa, with a ballooning fiscal deficit and growing debt, afford this? We must ensure that our energy investments are economically viable and socially responsible. We must also consider safety and regulatory compliance. South nuclear operations exemplified by Koeberg, but the risks of nuclear energy, while largely mitigated, demand rigorous oversight. The national nuclear regulator must be empowered to enforce stringent standards independent of political interference. Public safety and environmental protection must remain non-negotiable. Moreover, as we extend Koeberg's lifespan, we must ensure that it operates safely for the additional 20 years and plan adequately for decommissioning and waste management. The DA supports a measured approach to nuclear. South Africa cannot afford to make a misstep, either financially or from an energy security perspective. We cannot allow a new round of state capture to infiltrate our procurement programs, particularly on large-scale projects such as this. Nuclear energy may well be part of our long-term energy mix, but only if it can meet the highest standards of safety, transparency, and affordability. Deputy Speaker, the Nuclear Energy Summit in Irene was a significant step towards enhancing our understanding of nuclear energy and its role in our sustainable development. It highlighted the need for transparency, public engagement, and innovative solutions to address our energy challenges. We remain concerned, however, that it presented a one-sided perspective on nuclear energy and was not as inclusive of differing opinion as it could and should have been. As we move forward, let us seek to work together with diverse viewpoints and a broad spectrum of stakeholders to harness the full potential of nuclear energy for the benefit of all South Africans. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Milam. Honourable members, I also just wish to remind you to keep your microphones muted if you are not speaking. I don't have a speaker on the list for the MK. Is there a speaker for the MK in this debate?
Yes, there is a speaker. My name
Honourable
is
Mbata, please
Mbata.
proceed.
Yes, thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Good morning to all the honorable members on the platform. Umkhonto wesizwe support the continuation of nuclear in the energy mix of South Africa. We are also supporting the support of spreading nuclear in Africa to make sure that there is eventually understanding everywhere in the world and in particular in Africa that nuclear is safe, it is also clean, and it is also part of supporting the imperatives of climate change. We are also aware that there are all sorts of evangelists against nuclear. What we have promoted as Umkhonto wesizwe is that the nuclear journey, in particular as it was in the summit, should be protected, because the evangelists against nuclear make it look like an effort in the West. We want to tell the world and Africa that South Africa has used nuclear for over 40 years. And during the course of these 40 years, there has never been an incident except minor technical glitches, which has also enabled nuclear to even prosper. If you look at the South African energy mix, Koeberg in particular has been the most effective, the most prominent, and the most reliable to provide our energy in the country. As Umkhonto weSizwe, Deputy Speaker, we believe that South Africa needs at least 5, if not 6, Koeberg power plants to be located in the Northern Cape 1, KZN, Kosi Bay, Eastern Cape, and even in Free State. There is no way that we can handle our energy mix with solar. There is no way that we can handle the future of our energy problems with wind. Wind cannot help us. We are not a wind country. We only have it in the part of the Eastern Cape, in particular, in Port Elizabeth. So nuclear is sustainable for us. Nuclear is permitting us, with the science that we have developed and the science that we have protected and the efficiency and the example of Koeberg, it tells us that this is the future. Even though we're endowed with coal, but nuclear is the cleanest and the future and the most that could at least provide us the most reliable energy going forward. We need energy for over the next 250 years. And the only energy that could at least provide us that is nuclear. What we also know is that there is science that proves us now that there are a lot of ways in which it can be used. And the international community is willing to learn from South Africa. However, what we need to do as South Africans, we need to train more, which means we must have faculties in the education environment. For instance, we must have a department stroke a faculty in one of the universities. I know the University of the Western Cape has started, but we need our young people more and more, in particular, Black African women, to be part of the nuclear space. We were happy to even learn and understand that there is a percentage available in Koeberg, but the conference that was actually hoisted by the minister, it gave us the impetus to even argue more and argue further for the continuation and existence of nuclear as part and parcel of our future energy mix. Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Mbata. I don't have a speaker for the EFF. Honourable Paulson, are you going to take the slot?
Good morning once again, Speaker. Yes, I am. Deputy Speaker, the Economic Freedom Fighters considers nuclear energy as a pivotal component of South Africa's energy mix, offering a low-carbon, reliable source of electricity that can contribute significantly to the country's security and climate goals. Energy security and climate goals. The first Nuclear Energy Summit in March 2024 this year, as well as the global stocktake at COP28 in 2023, acknowledge that to reach global decarbonization targets by 2050 will require significant expansion of nuclear energy. Small modular reactors, or SMRs, offer a promising cost-effective solution thanks to their modular design, opportunities for replication, flexibility, and reduced construction time. SMRs can power everything from remote communities to large-scale grids, making them suitable for developing countries, energy-intensive industries like data centers. This means that in future, South South Africa could have a grid system which comprises many small grids connected to form one supergrid capable of providing reliable, continuous electricity to even the most remote parts of South Africa. The International Atomic Energy Association predicts that SMRs will comprise a quarter of new nuclear capacity by 2050. 31 countries currently use nuclear power, and around 30 newcomer countries are either embarking on or considering SMRs. Three newcomers, Bangladesh, Egypt, and Turkey, are already building their first nuclear power reactors. The Turkish Energy, Nuclear and Mineral Research Agency, TENMAC, plans to reach 20 gigawatts of nuclear power by 2028. What became abundantly clear at the nuclear summit held at Irene in the city of Tshwane was that South Africa does not have a shortage of nuclear energy expertise, with many expats even now plying their trade internationally. South Africa even developed its own nuclear reactor known as the Pebble Bed Modular Reactor. The Pebble Bed Modular Reactor, PBMR, was developed by the South African company PBMR Pty Limited from 1994 until 2009. PBMR facilities include gas turbines and heat transfer labs at Potchefstroom campus of Northwest University, and a high-pressure and temperature helium test rig, as well as prototype fuel fabrication plant in Palindaba. The PBMR is characterized by inherent safety features, which means that no human error or equipment failure can cause an accident that would harm the public. The PBMR is modular in that only small to mid-size units will be designed. Larger power stations will be built by combining many of these modules. Since its establishment in 1994, Pebble Bed Modular Reactor Pty Limited grew into one of the largest nuclear reactor design teams in the world. In 2006, the US Department of Energy awarded the PBMR consortium the primary contract for the first phase of new generation nuclear power plant, NGNP project. In February 2010, the South African government stopped funding the development of the Pebble Bed Modular Reactor, and PBMR Pty Limited started retrenching its workers. Deputy Speaker, nuclear energy is the most cost-effective source of energy. It is carbon-free and with the lowest land footprint. Given our vast investment in the PBMR, it was unwise to even cease the investment at the time we did. The EFF feels that we must continue our investment in nuclear energy research, develop our own nuclear systems, energy systems.
Honourable Paulson, your time has unfortunately
expired. As well as provide to the rest of Africa. The EFF supports the report, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is the Honourable Mshlongo.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. I'm Ketama Walasitole on behalf of Honourable Mhlongo.
Please proceed, Honourable Sitole.
Thank you very much, Honourable Deputy Speaker. The IFP acknowledged the deliberation of the Nuclear Energy Summit and theme enhancing nuclear technology for sustainable development in South Africa, which aim to tackle energy challenges while ensuring a just transition to sustainable, low-carbon solutions. We support balanced energy policies that are aligned with national energy security, economic growth, and environmental stewardship. The 2019 IRPS commitment to 2.5 MW of nuclear energy generation is crucial for grid stability and job creations. And we emphasize the need to refine the 2023 IRP to align with the new developments. The Deputy Minister focused on combating nuclear-related stigmas through transparency and public education is essentially for garnering stakeholders' trust. Nuclear energy offers opportunity for technologically advancement and regionally cooperations. We advocate for small modular reactions to enhance economic feasibility and stress the importance of transparent procurement process. South Africa existing nuclear infrastructure position, it is a leader in Africa, and partnership can foster innovations. We recommended revising 2008 nuclear energy policy, enhancing public education on nuclear benefits, auditing the nuclear workforce, and expanding training programs. It also called for expedited development of central interim storage facility for nuclear waste management and strengthen South African leadership in nuclear technology through collaborations with other African nations. The IFP affirms its commitment to an inclusive and sustainable energy strategy that integrates nuclear power as a critical component. The outcome of the Nuclear Energy Summit underscored the importance of aligning policy, governance, and public engagement with technology innovation to achieve South African energy goals. We encourage further collaboration to ensure that nuclear energy contributes effectively to economic growth, energy sovereignty, and environmental resilience. In consideration of all this, Honorable Deputy Speaker, the IFP do support the report. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Sithole. The next speaker is the Honourable Trollip.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Action SA would like to record our constructive and supportive posture towards this report, especially if it will stabilize the grid and arrest
Honourable Trollip, your connection is quite bad. I wonder if you could perhaps switch off camera.
Demands. Deputy Speaker, is that better?
Yes, that is. Thank you.
All right. Our collective national load shedding experience has left a bitter taste in South Africans' mouths. And Eskom is a critical national asset, and Action SA recognizes that and endorses its protection and proper continuous maintenance. The management of this asset is what concerns us most, though. Recent improvements in management reflected by an extended period without load shedding reinforce our concerns about our ability to manage Eskom facility properly, and especially nuclear energy. I need not remind Parliament that with nuclear energy, you can't afford any management lapses or incompetence. The Integrated Resource Plan rightly calls for a mix of energy production options, and we support this to meet further demands and grid stabilization. We, however, reinforce that coal-based energy needs to continue to be the foundation of our energy generation. My colleague, Honourable Ithala, in the previous debate, referred to the fact that Eskom used to provide lowest cost-effective energy in the world, and we should ensure that we return to that kind of production. We note that Koeberg has been run successfully for 40 years, and that without any major incident, and that recent upgrades have resulted in the International Atomic Energy Agency extending its operational lifespan for another 20 years. Action SA therefore endorses a steady modular approach to nuclear development, focusing on small modular reactors to build capacity incrementally. We oppose any rapid ramp up as experienced with the Pebble Bed modular reactor saga. In conclusion, we trust that the Minister and the Deputy Minister will ensure that this position that they hold on nuclear will be made publicly clear in the Koeberg municipality, where the proposed Oyster Bay nuclear energy generation development site is causing continuous public consternation. Once this report has been endorsed, we believe that the leadership of this department should take the public into their confidence and to tell them what's going to be happening in Oyster Bay. Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Trollip. I don't have a speaker for the ACDP, but I just want to make sure whether Honourable Thring, I see you are on the platform, so please just indicate whether you will be speaking or not.
We won't be speaking on this item. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Thring. And our last speaker is then the Honourable Mofokeng.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. The ANC support the tabling of this report. The Nuclear Energy Summit provided a nuclear illustration of the importance of nuclear energy as a critical component of South Africa's energy mix. All participants in the summit shared the common presumption that nuclear energy, which is known for offering low carbon and reliable supply of electricity, could contribute immensely and significantly towards South Africa's lofty goals of energy security and climate change mitigation. This shared common presumption could be found in the Deputy Minister's opening remarks and the Minister's keynote address, which were probably the most essential contributions to the summit. In her opening remarks, for instance, the Deputy Minister confirmed that South Africa was fully committed to the 2,500 megawatts new nuclear build program, driven by the rationale that nuclear energy is suitable for ensuring the stability of Eskom's power grid and for sustaining a long-term commitment to the primacy of energy security. Similarly, the minister further readily admitted in his keynote address that the 2,500 megawatts new nuclear build program was important not only for fulfilling the self-objective goals of the Integrated Resource Plan of 2019, but also for ensuring energy stability both in the short and in the long run. In light of the recent decision to withdraw the January 2024 Gazette for the 2,500 megawatts new nuclear build program, both the minister and the deputy minister acknowledged that whilst this decision might have sent a wrong impression to the public, that the government was not in favor of nuclear energy anymore. The decision was meant to ensure that the government did not compromise public participation, adherence to statutory regulatory requirements, and openness and transparency in the decision-making processes relating to the implementation and procurement of the nuclear build program. The minister was concerned that despite the government commitment to follow science and developing South Africa's new nuclear capacity, there were ongoing tensions between the government and environmental justice NGOs that share the non-scientific and empirically questionable common ground of viewing nuclear energy as invariably unsafe, thus suggesting that nuclear energy must simply disappear in the energy mix together. These tensions, as the minister emphasized, were driven by unreasonable dissatisfaction, misinterpretations, and implied confusion about the danger of nuclear energy. Worse yet, South Africa's top scientists were not doing enough to dispel misconception about new nuclear energy, given information imperfections in the country. The minister's line of reasoning regarding environmental justice NGOs that sought to discredit nuclear energy without reference to science and evidence was shared by the Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency, Mr. Gross, who argued that skepticism about the nuclear energy was unjustified, considering that the global nuclear sector has demonstrated enormous resilience through, amongst other things, improved nuclear safety culture and safety structures. Nevertheless, both the minister and the deputy minister were adamant that embracing and taking advantage of South Africa's comparative advantage in nuclear energy could enable the country to catch up expeditiously with the developed and industrialized countries for several important reasons. First and foremost, nuclear makes up a relatively small portion of global supply, approximately 10 to 12% of electricity being produced. The implication here is that South Africa, as the only country on the continent with an operating nuclear plant, will find more and more profitable opportunities along the nuclear technological trajectory. For instance, it is assumed that if South Africa were to exploit its comparative advantage in nuclear energy. The benefits will be reflected in the growing share of the use of nuclear in power application, increased patenting of prominent aspects of nuclear use for industrial applications, that is, isotopes for medical treatment, and export competitiveness regarding the mining of uranium. Second, it should be noted that the nuclear industry is moving towards small modular reactors, cost-effective and efficient. Following this, SMRs in South Africa could be placed closer to sources of consumption, with the implicit assumption that Eskom will its distribution network, and the country could also export its nuclear energy skills to the rest of the continent. More crucially, the cost-effectiveness nature of SMRs could jumpstart South Africa's reindustrialization process aimed at delivering rapid economic growth and massive job creation. Added to this, nuclear energy could also guarantee water security through nuclear desalination, which could meet the growing demand for potable water in South Africa whilst ensuring efficient water management of nuclear power plants. The ANC supports the tabling of this report and urges the minister to urgently implement its recommendations, especially the need to secure funding for future nuclear energy build and enhancing nuclear energy training and education in the country. I thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Mofokeng. That concludes the debate, and we shall now proceed to the last order, which is the consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Mineral and Petroleum Resources on Stakeholders Engagement Workshop. The Honourable Mashlaule.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. The Portfolio Committee on Minerals and Petroleum Resources, having conducted stakeholder engagement workshop, adopted the report that is being considered today. Stakeholder engagement allows one to gather diverse perspectives, build trust, make more informed decisions, identify potential risks early, and ultimately achieve better outcomes. Diverse perspectives from the engagement assist in tailoring strategies that can effectively address specific challenges. The stakeholder engagement is part of the strategy that the committee had decided on as early as from its first meeting, that it would focus on capacitating itself until the end of the year. This was to allow members to thoroughly understand the sector before deep diving into the critical role of oversight that it must play on the two sectors, which is mineral and petroleum resources. As part of this strategy, the committee was also trained by the Wits Mining Institute in July on mining. Similar training was planned on petroleum. However, due to changes in parliamentary program, this did not happen. Also, as the chairperson of the committee, I have adopted an open door policy. I have committed to honor meeting invites from all stakeholders, and that's why my Wednesdays are reserved for this purpose. We held stakeholders engagement workshop on 17 September 2024 with mining and petroleum stakeholders, including organized labor. The purpose of the stakeholders engagement workshop was for the members of the committee to know the stakeholders that are within the portfolio, to hear the challenges the stakeholders are experiencing in the sector, and to hear what the stakeholders' expectation for the committee during the 7th administration. About 18 stakeholders, including organized labor, were invited to participate in the workshop. However, 10 were able to honor the invite. Those that did not attend the workshop are invited to use the Wednesdays that I've put aside. Several challenges and possible solutions were presented by the stakeholders as contained in this report. Some of the noteworthy challenges include poor implementation of social and labor plans by the mining companies. This is something that the committee had already taken note of and agreed it would prioritize during the 7th administration. Another key challenge raised is the fact that South Africa is heavily dependent on imported crude oil. Additionally, of the historically 6 refineries in the country, only 3 are operational. The over-dependence on imported fuel leaves the country vulnerable to oil price shocks and supply issues. And we're happy that recently the President signed the Upstream Petroleum Resources Development Bill into law, which aims to promote the upstream petroleum industry to enable the process of looking for oil and gas. However, we are faced with the challenge of environmental organizations that block any upstream petroleum project. This is also an area that the committee will focus on. We will continue to engage with environmental organizations and possibly come to a common understanding that the exploration of oil and gas can be done in an environmentally sustainable and responsible manner. We must be able to strike a balance between environment and development. Having engaged the stakeholders, the committee implored the department to review the Mineral and Petroleum Resources Development Act and ensure that it considers the need for meaningful community participation, to review the implementation of social and labor plans and the issue of the community trusts, to be stern with companies that obtain permits or licenses and do not use them. The use or lose it principle must be firmly implemented, to strengthen its support for small-scale and artisanal mining, to explore ways in incentivizing the petroleum industry in respect of the upgrade of refineries to clean fuel by 2027, to deal decisively with those blending paraffin with diesel. Adulteration damages millions of people's vehicles and robs the taxman of what is due. In conclusion, all key issues that the committee picked up during this engagement, including issues from the training received, will form part of the committee's strategic plan and ultimately be prioritized during the 7th administration. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Mashlole. And the next speaker is the Honourable Zondi.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I want to start today by quoting Jeff Kennedy. Some men see things as they are and ask why. I dream things that never were and ask why not. In a changing mining landscape, this is the type of visionary leadership we need. We need new ideas and need to transform our thinking and review our current course of action in order to compete with a changing world. Mining is without a doubt a long-term investment. As a result, it is important to any interested investor that the environment that they invest into is stable and propped up by policy certainty. The infrastructure also has to be reliable with a healthy lifespan spanning across the life of the investment. South Africa unfortunately doesn't have either of the two, thus explaining the dwindling investment rates into the country's mining sector. It was very clear during the course of engaging stakeholders that policy uncertainty is one of the biggest stumbling blocks in the country's mining sector. The MPRDA, which celebrated 20 years this year, is riddled with inefficiencies that act as an effective repellent for any potential investor. It imposes no deadlines for the department to grant or deny mining titles upon receipt of a mining application. This makes any possible investor uncertain of whether they can get approval in time, as this process can take anything from months and even years. The SAMRAT system was supposed to alleviate this issue and streamline the application process. It has, however, I'm afraid, proven to be utterly useless and non-transparent, leading to more issues like double granting of mining titles. The announcement by the minister that the department will launch a new cadastral system by June 2025 is a welcomed development. The Democratic Alliance will continue monitoring the timely implementation of this system and remains concerned about the process of migrating existing data from the SAMRAT to Project INDWE. Along with the new cadastral system, the Democratic Alliance calls for an audit of all mining titles issued in order to identify idle potential mining sites that could contribute to the economy. The Mining Charter, which remains policy and not law, introduces more policy uncertainty and is constantly revised and is religiously a subject of litigation before the courts for its legality. It is clear under such an environment, mining investment will not thrive as mining thrives on stability. The stakeholder engagement session also confirmed the widespread issue of illegal mining in the country. Illegal mining costs the country about 70 billion annually, even more in the loss of human life and destruction of infrastructure. The Democratic Alliance calls for an establishment of a dedicated illegal mining police unit. This unit would be skilled and equipped sufficiently to deal with illegal mining specifically. Currently, the SAPS do not have the capacity or the know-how on how to deal with illegal mining. This is evidenced by the recent events at the Stilfontein mine. The 140 million budgeted for rehabilitation of ownerless and derelict mines is simply not enough. The department has to budget more in order to make a dent in the restoration of the estimated 6,100 derelict mines across the country. The department is of course not only responsible for mining only, but has a petroleum wing as well. The petroleum industry is crucial for the country's economy and energy security. The engagement with industry identified potential risks in this industry, which include diesel adulteration using paraffin, which is much cheaper. The suggestion from the Fuels Industry Association of South Africa that to deal with the lacing of diesel with illuminating paraffin, the country needs to increase taxation on paraffin is, as far as I'm concerned, misguided. Business is already stagnant in the country, and more taxes will only accelerate the decline of the fuel industry and put more entrepreneurs out of business, thus increasing the levels of unemployment in the country. Government needs to perform more frequent inspections of diesel dealers and ensure proper enforcement of rules and guidelines. We need not punish honest, hard-working businessmen and women for the sins of the few. In conclusion, the Democratic Alliance is satisfied with the input from stakeholders and will be monitoring the response of the department to some of the proposals brought forward by the various stakeholders. We also will look closely to the date of June 2025 by the Minister for the establishment of the new cadastral system. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Zondi. I would now like to find out, does the MK have a speaker?
Yes, I'm available.
Honourable Selepe, please proceed.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Izingonyama and Amakhosi have been sidelined in the management of mineral resources, which has led to the exploitation of our minerals. Furthermore, the exclusion of traditional leaders from the distribution of minerals has led to the lack of benefits accruing to local communities. In many cases, mining companies have failed to provide adequate compensation to the communities affected by their operations, leading to the poverty and inequality. The situation is further complicated by the fact that Izingonyama and Amakhosi were excluded from the negotiation table during South Africa transition to democracy, specifically at the CODESA in the early 90s. This exclusion has meant that the interests of traditional leaders and their communities have not been adequately represented in the country's mineral policies. The persistence of unregulated small-scale and artisanal mining in South Africa perpetuated the elites Zama's phenomenon, resulting in the unchecked exploitation of the country's mineral resources by the undocumented individual to the detriment of the South African people. Furthermore, the exclusion of traditional leaders from the meaningful participation in the mining sector exacerbated this issue. The exclusion of essential, not merely as formally, but as genuine partnership to ensure that benefits of mining accrue to local communities. For some driven by desperation to provide their families and process of obtaining the permits from DMR for small-scale mining, operation its bureaucratic process in another handle for those who to get permits. To comply with the government regulation, small-scale miners must provide comprehensive environmental assessment and feasibility studies to the land they intend to mine. However, formal processes for acquiring the rights is prohibited, expensive, and burdensome, creating a significant barrier to entry for small-scale miners. We, as MK Party, we believe if small-scale miners could be given better skills, easier ways to obtain permits, a new breed of small-scale miners would operate on a legal basis, could perhaps be created. The absence of overseeing body makes small-scale mining more dangerous, and it ought to be violent. Fights some break out between different groups fighting for the same piece of mining land. The absence of law in further component by corruption as miners pay policy off or turn a blind eye to their activities to has enabled corrupt practices such as bribery to flourishing. The MK Party remains deeply concerned that persistence of illegal mining activities, commonly referred to as zamazamas, can be attributed to the clandestine involvement of high-profile individuals, politically figures, and mining companies. To convert support enables these illegal operations to continue unchecked and worse, to be dominated by undocumented foreign individuals. Several critical questions arises from this situation. For instance, the illegal miners use mercury to extract gold from raises concern about the source of toxic substance. Mercury is a highly regulated, prescribed substance that cannot be legally obtained without proper authorization. Therefore, it is imperative to investigate who's supplying mercury to these illegal miners and hold them accountable for their action. Further investigation to illegal mining operation reveals, in addition, questions about supply chain, the process of using mercury to extract gold from the waste.
Selepe, your time has expired.
Thank you.
Thank you. We now thank you, honourable member. The EFF. Is there a speaker from the EFF?
Yes, I'm here, Honourable Deputy Speaker. It's Honourable
Blose.
Yes.
Please proceed.
No, thank you very much, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Firstly, let me send my greetings to the Commander-in-Chief of the EFF, all officials of the EFF commissars, and all ground forces. Look, Deputy Speaker, on the 17th of September 2024, the Portfolio Committee on Minerals and Petroleum Resources held a workshop with mining and petroleum stakeholders, including organized labor. So stakeholders raised many critical issues, Deputy Speaker, that could actually assist the industry in ensuring growth, provided that the minister and the department, they need to perform their duties. One of the key issues that was that reason from that discussion was health and safety, which remains a significant concern in this sector. The rise in fatalities and cases of sexual harassment are really, really alarming. Women are not safe in this industry, as machinery and PPE are often not designed for them. In some cases, women are forced to ask men to perform tasks in exchange for sex, as they otherwise would risk not being paid. So social and labor plans, the SLPs, have become little more than just talk shop, with little to no follow-up to ensure that mining houses implement them. The issue of the mining charter The issue of the mining charter scorecard also needs urgent attention. Stakeholders revealed that the DMRE does not have a standard reporting template, making it difficult to monitor compliance. So stakeholders also expressed disappointment with the DMRE and the minister accusing them of prioritizing business interest over those of the communities affected by mining operations. It is concerning that South Africa remains a net importer of crude oil. There is a clear need to invest in the upstream petroleum industry and address the decline in refining capacity. Look, Honorable Deputy Speaker, the ceiling of abandoned mines remains a crisis, further exposing the ANC's inability to address this long-standing issue. The Stilfontein incident has highlighted the socio-economic desperation that drives illegal mining, leaving the state woefully unprepared to address this crisis. It is a mess as we speak today. Even more distressing is the confirmation that as many as 100 children are still believed to be trapped underground, victims of modern slavery, and its horrifying realities are evident as we speak today in the Stilfontein incident. Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Blose. The next speaker on the list is the Honourable Mhlongo. Honourable Mhlongo, are you online or will it be the Honourable Sithole?
It will be Honourable Sithole, Deputy Speaker.
Please proceed.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. The IP reflect on the outcome of the stakeholder engagement workshop held by the Portfolio Committee on Mineral and Petroleum Resources on 17 September 2024. This engagement was a vital step in deepening the relationship between the committee and the various stakeholders who are integral to the mining and petroleum sectors. The IFP acknowledged the invaluable insights shared by key stakeholders, including the National House of Traditional and Khoisan Leaders and Women in Oil and Energy South Africa. Their contribution underscored the critical needs for the more inclusive, equitable, and transformative approach to resource management in South Africa. From the discussion, the IFP highlighted the following key points, such as empowering communities and youth through STEMs and skill development, whose effect to uplift communities, particularly through businesses and entrepreneurship training, as well as STEM initiatives, are commendable. Their pilot program in Soweto serve as a model for breaking barriers to entry in science, technology, and engineering for South African youth. The IFP government support for the facilitating such initiatives, particularly in rural and unprivileged areas, to foster the next generation of leaders in the energy sector. The National Housing and Traditional Khoisan's leadership concerned about the exploitations and dire condition in rural mining communities cannot be ignored. Decades after apartheid, it is unacceptable that these areas remain plagued by systematic neglect, violence, and inadequate enforcement of compliance by mining companies. The IFP anchors the call for greater accountability from both the departments and mining corporation to ensure tangible benefit for affected communities. The voice of women, youth, and rural communities must guide our effort as we chart a path towards a fairer and more sustainable future. In considering all this, Honourable Deputy Speaker, all these matters, the IFP do support and accept the report. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Sithole. The next speaker is the Honourable Letlape.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Just to say to the Secretariat that I have not defected to the EFF. I'm still a member of Action SA, if they could correct that. We from Action SA think we should do things differently. We should emphasize the fact that local lives matter. And what we should be seeing in this industry is local investments. We have structures like the PIC, which is not visible in terms of local investments that empowers communities. We need to change the language to talk not about public-private partnerships, but to talk about public-people-private partnerships. Because when we talk about public-private, we're talking about government and we're talking about big business. And societies are left outside. The people are left outside. For us, it's about engaging the people, bringing the people into the mainstream economy. Not talking about royalties to communities, but talking about shareholding and shareholder participation to communities. We need to do business differently. We can't be growing grants and diminishing jobs. We should encourage creative thinking. We should engage youth. We should ensure that there's a value in working, and local people matter. And we would like the department to embark on empowering communities. There's been a lot said about Zamazamas. That's dereliction of responsibility from government. If there's still value in the mines abandoned by the big multinational companies, government has a duty to empower local communities to work and to extract. Let us ensure that we just comply with international emission norms and standards, and we deal with fringe elements that would want us to comply with standards that the international world is not complying with, so that our resources can still be taken to be processed elsewhere. We support the bill, but we're saying it cannot be business as usual. Local lives matter. Artisanal mining for locals. Business opportunities for mining. Let the stockfiles be brought into shareholder arrangements. We support the bill, but we can't continue doing business like South Africans are mindless and cannot work. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Ithala. The last speaker in this debate is the Honourable Hassan.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. As the ANC, we support the tabling of this report, fundamentally because it centers the voices of industry stakeholders who have been historically left behind. As the ANC, we have always and will continue to advocate for the most marginalized of our society. And as we continue to build a developmental and capable state, we cannot leave behind the masses of our people to mineral and petroleum resources, as well as an equitable redistribution of those resource benefits from both the viewpoint and experience of stakeholders who are actively involved in the industry. Moreover, engagements with stakeholders are key catalysts for building political momentum to push forward transformative policies and reforms in these industries. A good illustration of such transformative policy was the byproduct of engagements with stakeholders is the Junior Mining Fund, which was recently implemented by the Department of Mineral and Petroleum Resources. The reality is that in the mining industry, is that women, youth, and people with disabilities in general, and from marginalized groups in particular, are continuously blocked by established and discriminatory practices and systems from fully participating in the industry. Furthermore, the Black majority, and Africans in particular, have historically interacted in this industry as a hardened labor force whose rights and agency served secondary to profitability. Two issues emerged in this workshop and were cited as powerful explanatory variables for this. Firstly, most incumbent mining companies have held mining rights that are unused. This entrenched structural barriers to entry and has kept marginalized people out of this industry. Secondly, it became very evident during these engagements that a lack of progress in increasing the number of marginalized women, youth, and people living with disabilities in the mining industry could generally be attributed to the weak enforcement mechanisms of the social and labor plans, the SLPs. They are a requirement introduced by the Mineral and Petroleum Resources Development Act, and they are aimed at ensuring that mining companies develop and implement a comprehensive human resources development program community development program, housing and living conditions, employment equity, and processes to save jobs and manage downscaling or closure. Consequently, the mining industry tends to offer very high profitability, especially when a robust oversight of these SLPs is limited and threatened. Henceforth, it was suggested that while the implementation and monitoring of SLPs may be weak, the Marula mine was an exception to this rule. Its SLP was tailor-made to the interests of the community and therefore should serve as a benchmark to other players of a successful social compact. In response to this ongoing challenge, the chairperson of the committee recommended a fundamental overhaul that would replace the obsolete systems for monitoring SLPs, informed by the investigative oversight that would be conducted by the committee during this current term. The Minerals Council was also in support, and in its informed view, SLPs have to be reimagined to give effect to the national development objectives by customizing each SLP to the various needs and decision-making of the community. And this is in line with the ANC's practice of leaving no one behind. Interestingly, the Junior Mining Council was convinced that the implementation of the artisanal and small-scale mining policy could facilitate the entry of marginalized people into this industry. Perhaps most importantly is that this policy makes it mandatory for mining companies that hold unused mining rights to cede them to junior miners. The introduction of artisanal and small-scale mining, as led by Minister Mantashe, has the potential to be groundbreaking in our pursuit against the harm caused by zamazamas, as well as build economic opportunity in mining towns that have collapsed. Regardless of the limitations and monitoring of SLPs, which have left the mining industry widely open for abuse, the Minerals Council has still confirmed the attractiveness of South Africa's mining industry has improved tremendously as the country is on par with other countries concerning investment, implying that the policy and regulatory regime in the industry could secure international creditworthiness. Nonetheless, the committee, in concert with the Junior Mining Council and the ANC, was disappointed that the mining industry generated approximately 800 billion rand, but only 400 million of that was reinvested back into the industry for exploration. This represents but a mere fraction. The lack of correlation between revenue and investment in the industry was justified by the council using ad hoc factors, especially a shared common view that exploration investment in South Africa was considered risk capital, an implicit assumption that most mining projects were not investable or bankable or viable. Even though exploration investment has been low, mining companies continue to invest in other projects, particularly social projects comprised to training, housing, and health. But similarly, structural and strategic barriers to entry are not peculiar to this industry alone. They're also evident in the petroleum industry, particularly for women, who continuously struggle to participate, as lamented by the Women in Oil and Energy South Africa. The South African Oil and Gas Alliance and the Fuels Industry Association of South Africa was also concerned that there were no incentives from government to support the shift from fossil resource-intensive sectors to greener sectors of the economy. A key takeaway challenge in the petroleum industry was the blending of paraffin with diesel, and the relevant stakeholders proposed solutions for it, including potentially taxing paraffin and diesel at the same tax rate, but then using those tax revenues to subsidize families dependent on the use of paraffin for cooking via the social grant system. Other illegal activities in the petroleum industry included, amongst others, the illegal importation of LPG cylinders and appliances, illegal LPG operations, illegal filing and exportation of cylinders, and the illegal and unregistered practitioners. Furthermore, we wish to, as the ANC, commend the chairperson of the committee, who of course is led by the ANC, who set the right precedent by opening up so much time and enhancing accessibility. This goes a long way in building trust with our communities and removing the gatekeeping that has often marred parliamentary process previously. As the ANC, we support the tabling of this report as it focuses and centers the voices of the most marginalized and stakeholders in society. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. That concludes the debate and the business of this virtual mini-plenary session. The mini-plenary will now rise.